Eric, I want to thank you so very much for taking your time to come and sit and talk with me today. Um, for our audience, my name is DeRooy, and I am with City to Shore Real Estate. This is Eric Blanchard with Brown & Brown Insurance, and I am really excited for this. And what prompted this insurance conversation that we're going to have today actually came from a set of clients where I literally ran into them in the pet food store, and they had, tragically, a fire in their beautiful, beautiful home on the northeast end of Grand Rapids. And they mentioned some things that I remember hearing vaguely over time that they wish they had known.
Sure.
And so this is a conversation that we're going to talk about buyers, particularly what did they wish they should have known, or what you think they should have known. Then we're going to talk about what you currently own your home and things you should know.
Sure.
And then sellers, what you should know. And then at the end, I think we might actually have a little bit about just specifically for real estate agents and what they should also know. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
The first thing that I wanted to talk to is buyers. One of the things I hear from my buyers all the time is my insurance agent says my house is worth way more than what I'm buying it for. Is there something wrong with my house? Would you talk about what market value is versus replacement cost?
Sure. Great question. So two drastically different things. When we think about market value, that means what you could purchase a home for. So that is very different from replacement cost. Replacement cost is going to be what would it take to reconstruct that home. So we need to think about the debris removal, right? If we have a fire, there's going to be a tremendous amount of debris. Clearing all that debris, the site work, prep work to reconstruct, permits with the city, and then bring it in a crew to reconstruct a home. So it tends to be, on average, it isn't an exact science, but about 25% more than market value is pretty normal right now.
So when our clients see that, or the insurance agent is saying, hey, I need you to insure this for XYZ, then it's way more. It isn't because, one, the insurance company isn't trying to scam them. Two, it's really because the cost to rebuild that house today as it is more than what you're actually getting to purchase it for.
You're absolutely correct. And it's really to protect the clients, to make sure that in the event of a total loss, meaning we always think of a fire, right, being the most catastrophic thing, that we could reconstruct the home for them. The worst sin that I think we could ever commit from an insurance perspective is building half a house or 3/4 of a house for somebody. Unless they were under the understanding there are some policies that will allow for that. But that would want to be a conversation with the client to make sure they understood exactly what they were getting and that they were comfortable with that. But by and large, a replacement cost policy is the way to go.
Perfect. So when you get that policy or the binder, actually, because you don't actually have the policy until you purchase the house, but when you get that binder and you start looking and you see all of these, the replacement cost, deductible, coverage, A, B, C, D, endorsements and riders, what terms do you think homeowners or first-time homebuyers misunderstand the most?
It's a wonderful question. And there's a lot to unpack there, Sarah. I would say the majority of people, really, especially first-time home buyers, they're so overwhelmed with the entire process. They're spending a tremendous amount of money nowadays. They're committing to something typically for 30 years. And they're going to move and pack up all their belongings and all these things. The homeowner's policy kind of becomes a formality to many of them.
Yeah.
So having an in-depth conversation is so crucial to understand what exactly are they protecting? What are the exposures that are out there? So what I would say is to have a detailed conversation to understand, how am I going to cover my home? What liabilities are out there? How am I going to cover my contents? Do I have additional things that need to be covered? Jewelry, firearms, etc. So really, really tough to narrow that down. But I would say a detailed conversation is so important.
And to take the time to do that.
Take the time to do it, absolutely.
I know sometimes I have experience where, the only thing left I have to do is just get a homeowner's insurance, and they go online and they go to, we won't say their name, but with an apron, .com, and they spit out a policy and they call it a day.
Sure.
But really the most important thing, we say this all the time as real estate agents, understand your financing, but you really also need to understand your insurance and to spend some time with that insurance agent. Okay.
But one additional thing I would say there, Sarah, is it being such an overwhelm, especially if you're a first time home buyers. There's so much going on to have that detailed conversation. But remember, you can circle back to that. So what I like to challenge that individuals do, have the conversation, but then 30 days, 45 days, as you moved into your home and things have settled down, go back and, okay, I have my policy. Do I understand all of this? Is this exactly the way that I want it to be? Because in the event of a claim happens, I want it to perform the way they want it to.
That's a very, very good point. You may not need to understand it, especially in the overwhelming phase of the 30 days, 40 days prior to purchasing. Um, but yeah, go back right after when things have settled down, when you've unpacked. As you're unpacking, documenting things going, ooh, wow, I have a really expensive piece of jewelry I forgot about.
Mhm.
Yeah, go back to that insurance agent.
And changes can be made where you're not married to the policy. You can make changes to the policy. So it's really important to do that.
This is really great. One of the things that I also talk to my people about is water and sewer backup. Why is that not included?
Well, that is a great one. So a couple of things there that would be by endorsement, meaning in addition to the policy. And every agency and company is going to handle that a little bit differently. Me in particular, I always include at least $5,000 and then have the conversation with the client to see if they would like to increase that. I can't speak to why everybody doesn't do that, but that's a major coverage that many, many people do not know about. And it can cause significant damage, especially in Michigan. We do have 4 seasons.
This time of year.
This is the exact time of the year. We get the thaw and some pumps run overtime. So something along those lines that I would add in addition, Sarah, is I always recommend to homeowners, if you have a sump pump, to make sure that it's working. It isn't something that we commonly go and check, but I recommend once a month, every 90 days, create something that works for your family and go and dump a bucket of water in there. Make sure it's running.
That's interesting because I also had a different set of clients just last month had that same thing where they found out their sump pump had failed. And of course, that is caused a different set of circumstances for them. But as, of course, snow is melting, rain starts happening, this is that time of year where water and sewer backups do happen. And exactly what is a water and sewer backup coverage? I know in some cases, it is where water comes up through but not necessarily foundational, which is
typically never
different.
covered.
Correct. Okay.
Typically never covered. There is a company out there that I'm very proud to represent that does cover that. That's called hydrostatic pressure, water coming up through the foundation. That is very rare for that to be covered. Our water and sewer backup coverage is going to be a sump pump failure, backup of a drain or a toilet discharge, that resulting water damage coming up through the home.
Okay.
Very different than a pipe bursting. That's going to be covered under your coverage A, your dwelling coverage on your homeowner's policy.
Okay. So 3 different circumstances, all involving water.
Yes.
Make sure that you're asking those questions again as a new buyer. All right.
And remember to check your sump pump. Most commonly, what I hear from people, unfortunately, is they do not know that their sump isn't working until they have water in their basement, which is not a fun time.
No, that is not a fun time, especially in the winter.
Exactly.
All right. What happens if the home becomes unlivable?
So we do have coverage for that. It's called loss of use, or it will be your coverage D on your homeowner's policy. And that provides additional coverage if your home is uninhabitable due to a covered claim. Very important, it has to be due to a covered claim. The reason I'm always careful there is mold is typically never covered on a homeowner's policy. Typically, there are rare circumstances. But if you have mold, your loss of use is not going to kick in. That would not be a covered claim. But backing up to having a covered claim, your loss of use is going to provide coverage for you to stay in a hotel, a rental home, even provide some food coverage, right? If you lose all the food in your home due to a fire or certain circumstances, it's going to provide food for your family for a period of time. Very important coverage to have.
What is ordinance of law coverage?
Another great one. You're asking a lot of great questions today. Your ordinance or law is going to be to bring homes up to code in the event that they need to be. So many homes can be what's called grandfathered in based on the age of the home, and building codes change seemingly every year, perhaps even sooner than that. So if you have a home that's grandfathered in, you're okay by your city ordinance. But if you have a claim, then you're going to need to typically bring that up to code. So by and large, the kind of common thing there is if it's over 50% of the home is damaged, typically is where that will kick in. You're going to need to bring it up to code. So that can be wiring, that can be plumbing, that can be any number of things. That could be the siding on your home. So it's additional coverage that allows you to bring that back up to code.
So this same people that I was talking about who had the fire a couple of months ago, that they are dealing with ordinance of law coverage right now. The home was built in 1941.
Very expensive.
And so that is one of the things that they're having to work through and work on. And it's actually prolonging the process because they have to have rehab plans redrawn because their first level all has to be brought up into code. And their second floor, which was not affected by the fire, has to now be brought up to code too. So what are the top 1 or 2 coverages homeowners regret not getting?
The two that I would tell you right now, I'll give you one more historical and one that's been in newer trend. And we've already touched on it, would be the water and sewer backup coverage. That's been for the test of time, something that many people don't know they have or don't know they have enough of. And it doesn't mean they have to purchase it, but have that conversation, understand what it could look like with the different amounts, and then be aware of what you would need to pay out of pocket should it go above and beyond that. The other one, a big change is really deductibles. So what we have seen in recent years is deductibles increasing.
Yeah.
And many companies offering or mandating a wind and hail deductible. So it can be 1% of your dwelling coverage, sometimes 2% of your dwelling coverage. So if people are not aware of that, they may have a $1,000 all peril deductible with a 1% wind and hail. So you have a $500,000 dwelling coverage. You have a $5,000 deductible for wind and hail, and they did not know about it.
And I want to touch on that because this is something that has even happening in West Michigan. Why the wind and hail 1% deductible?
Sure, because the past 5 years in particular, we've had a tremendous amount of wind and hail in Michigan in particular, in West Michigan. And what insurance companies have done, that's a bit of protection on their end to offer that. Some are mandating it, some are offering it. So those companies that are offering it, it is a way for homeowners to reduce premium at times. But it's a way for them to balance their books a bit for the wind and hail claims. So should that happen, they're getting more deductible back.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are aware that there are companies that when we have major storms, they make a point of going through neighborhoods, knocking on doors,
Yes.
To point out wind and hail damage, and then claims will then result. That this is one of the ways that the insurance companies are kind of mitigating, I don't want to say false claims because it's not false claims necessarily, but claims that the roof is fine. It didn't, just because it had a little small dent here and there, wasn't necessarily needing a full replacement.
Absolutely.
So when you're looking at your policy and you're considering this 1% wind and hail damage, please keep in mind when that happens in West Michigan, and it does happen in West Michigan, and sometimes it happens to the point where, yes, a full roof needs to be done and taken care of. Lord knows we had, what, was it 2 years ago we had all those tornadoes come through?
It was.
Yeah. Certainly was a time period in which that was very important. It was really kind of mindful and to balance your needs and what you think may happen.
Sure. So just to make sure that you understand what your deductible is, and that if you do have that 1%, that you're comfortable with that.
Right.
That you have the money set aside, that you're not in sticker shock when something happens.
Right. Perfect. And to make sure that you're saving that aside and keeping it in a savings account just in case you need it.
Just in case.
All right. Insurance decisions when we are at trying to get to that closing table can affect you for years. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from this is talk to your insurance agent a month and a half after you've closed, you own your home, you're inside, or you've started unpacking and you realized it's time to have another conversation and to really understand your homeowner's insurance policy about a month and a half after you've moved in, because it's amendable at any time. Just because you made the decision once, you're not locked in for the full year.
Absolutely correct. One additional point, Sarah, that I would make there that I think is equally important is once you have a home under contract, start looking for your homeowner's insurance right away. You'll give yourself 30 to 45 days there typically to make an informed decision versus it being a last second thing where your lender says, okay, the last thing I need is homeowner's insurance, get this in so we can be clear to close. And then you're just in a hurried state and maybe not making an informed decision. So give yourself some lead time both ways to make a really great choice for your family.
Perfect. I really appreciate that. Eric, look at this camera for me and tell people how to contact you.
You can reach me through Brown & Brown website or eric.blanchard@bbrown.com.